Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well. So today's topic is a really interesting one, and Sophie and I are kind of putting ourselves out there a little bit with this one. So this is about choosing an agent and the 15 essential questions that you should be asking before you sign on the dotted line and make that choice. So when you're selling your house, the most critical thing that you've got to do really is pick your agent, isn't it? And it's more than just about finding someone who can list your property. It's about finding a capable confidant, someone that is going to understand your goals, what you're looking to achieve, what the market is looking like, and how they're going to create that success story for you so that you can then move on to what's really making you move. Because everyone moves for a reason, don't they? So you're moving because circumstances have changed. And so you want someone to really understand that journey and be on it with you. And that's a real key thing. So before you put your house in the market, asking the right questions to understand who that agent is and individually what that person is like, and how they are going to work with you, and they're not going to waste your time. They're going to be paying attention to what you need, and avoiding months of stress and strain for you, because you'll have made the right choice and they are the right people and they've got your house sold for you, and that's what you're trying to achieve. So with that in mind, there's some categories really that we want to look at today particularly. There are 15 questions within these 5 categories, and I think that these are ones that you really need to be asking, but the key areas that you need to look at and challenge on and really get a clear understanding from the agent about are their experience and their local acumen. So, how do they operate within their community, and do they understand what's going on in your street and in your community? The valuation, of course, is critical. We talk about the pricing constantly and how much that's really important to you. But not just the valuation, but also their sales strategy. Do they have a strategy, or are they just going to list it and we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll see what happens? Yeah, that old favourite. But also what you want to look at is then their marketing and also their buyer reach. So, what does that look like? Can they demonstrate to you the geographic reach that they have? The world has changed, doesn't it? And certainly we've seen that in Fife, whereby you've got people working at home now. So, can that agent demonstrate that they're getting buyers from Edinburgh, from Glasgow, from the borders, from London even, because those people can start working at home. So understanding their reach is a big thing. Communication, of course, is key. We say that about everything, don't we? Communication is the key. But communication and feedback to you as well is the key, because there's so much excitement around the actual listing part that the seller can almost feel a little bit rejected once it's listed, because all that hub's been happening, and then suddenly it's just, right, I'm waiting, what's happening? I don't know what's happening, and there's just silence. So communication, feedback, what does that look like, and how frequently are you going to get that? And also what mechanism? We've got so many different ways and platforms to do that now, haven't we? So you can be doing that on email, you can do it on phone, you can do it on WhatsApp, you could be doing it on text. So it's about how do you communicate and how do you prefer that, and can you both work together with that mechanism? And then obviously it comes down to your fees as well, and your contractual clarity, and what does that look like for you? So getting answers to those critical questions really do make a big difference in the journey that you're going to have. It also allows you to assess each agent's expertise and their strategies, and also their commitment to you and what they're going to achieve and how they're going to work with you. And also so you can find basically the perfect selling partner, because at the end of the day, all of these decisions are being taken because you want that house sold, because you want to start your new journey, whatever that may look like. So when we break those down, we're going to look at each of those categories and the questions within those. But there's a lot of information here. So again, the link is here. The article is here as well. If you want to take it offline and read it later on, then by all means, feel free to do that. But likewise, if you've had an experience that we haven't discussed or we have discussed, and you want to make a wee comment, then feel free to do that as well. And Sophie or I will come back to you, as will the team. So we're always on hand. But we're going to start off with the first one, which is the experience and local acumen. What does that look like, Sophie?
Experience and knowledge of the area it's crucial. It's what really matters. When your agent's sitting in front of you, are you telling them the things that are close by? Are you spelling it out to them, or do they already know that? Because as well, think that agent is going to be doing the viewings with your potential buyer. So if that buyer is from without the area and doesn't know schooling, commuting, leisure facilities, what all that looks like, because ultimately we need to make it as easy as possible for the buyer. And obviously their simple decision is, do I get a feel for this property and what is my offer? So really, does your agent have that almost invaluable market insights around your local area? The buyer demographics as well, because certain areas, obviously it's more prominent for perhaps landlords or investors or Airbnbs, or is it more a family home kind of area? Is it more a first time buyer kind of location? So do they understand the buyer demographics and who your property is going to appeal to? The property values as well, because areas have ceiling prices. Does your agent understand the ceiling prices? Because we say pricing is crucial because of the property values. And also, how long does it take to actually sell the property from it going live to accepting an offer? What does that look like as well? So, first question, how long have you been selling in the area and why do people buy here today? That demonstrates not only the agent's longevity, but also their depth of the understanding of the local, perhaps, well, Perrie, you, for example, KY8, that commuting link that's been made available with the train station, that's had such a positive impact. But you as an agent, you have to know that. So you have to know as well when it was open, the fact a second service is getting introduced, all of those key pieces. Does your agent know that?
Yeah, it's really vital, and it's really interesting. This topic is it's one of my favorite topics actually, because I experienced this exact situation yesterday. So I was doing a viewing with a client yesterday who had come from Manchester, didn't know the area, has been initially shopping around in East Neuk, but had seen the location tour for a property that we have in Leven. So they'd seen the location tour for the beach, etc. Didn't really know the location. So we're standing outside the front of the property, and before we even got in the door, I said, obviously you're not aware of the area. I can tell that from the other properties you've been looking at, but this is what you need to know. So I told them where they could walk to the park. I told them how they could get to Silverburn. I told them how they could get to the golf course, where the school was, where the swimming pool was, how close the train station was, where the high street was, that it had a tapas bar, that they've got a steak and cocktail bar. And she really enjoyed all of that information. And we went back, then we went into the property, we did all the tour, we came back outside, they had some questions. And then as she was leaving, she says, do you know something? She says, that's the most informative viewing I've ever been on, about understanding not just the house, but what else I could have in my life with this house. And actually thanked me for that knowledge share. So that's a good demonstration of what you're saying there, Sophie. And it's really important that that agent can demonstrate that to you.
Absolutely. It is. It's the lifestyle piece as well. And it stops your buyer then having to go and find out all of that. You've done it all for them. It's like a one-stop shop. So that is crucial. Then another question is, what's your average time to sell homes in this particular area, this particular postcode, compared to perhaps other agents or the market average? So it reveals then perhaps the agent's efficiency with faster sales than the local average, indicating strong marketing, accurate pricing, and that proactive management. How many other agents can say sold from social media? How many other agents can obviously get viewings done at pre-portal stage before it's even gone to your Rightmove, your Zoopla? So what is your agent doing differently to help you get that quicker sale? Can they also provide recent examples of other homes that have sold nearby? Now, you would think this would just be kind of standard practice and all agents to demonstrate this. Not everybody does. Again, it's a wee bit like going in and crossing the fingers and maybe just selling a story, but actually, are they demonstrating to you in black and white? This is recent, case studies. This was the experience and this was the result, which again, one, it shows that they've done their homework and they've come prepared and they're actually invested in you. They actually have taken the time to do all of that work. They've not just rocked up and hoped for the best. They've actually taken this seriously, but it also then helps you aware of what they are achieving in the area, what are they doing, their knowledge, etc. Because it's that awareness of specific addresses, specific locations, and how long they take to sell. And a kind of seasoned local agent, and local being the key word, with that kind of intimate, really extensive knowledge is essential for the effective pricing, that targeted marketing, and then literally reaching out to the buyers that are for that area. It's crucial. You need to have an agent that knows the area. There's no other way about it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think that story I just relayed there as well was a real good endorsement of the fact that happened, and that person felt really knowledgeable about where they potentially were going to be living now. And that's key. I think that's key to the success and how quickly things will move forward as well.
Absolutely, definitely. And then something else as well. So yes, we speak about, does your agent know? But like, obviously, do you know the local area? What are you doing to help the buyer? So like you in that view and was able to walk them through and talk them through and show them everything. Is there perhaps other marketing tools, like you've mentioned the location tour? We obviously do the drone footage. So if it is a viewer from perhaps Manchester or down south or Europe and beyond, they don't know all of this. So actually, have we got that drone footage that is a digital marker of this is the property, then this is all the main points from here. So it is that one visual representation of what their surroundings look like. And we do recognize that that drone footage and that location tour is crucial with the listing. It makes such a difference for people, because a bit like
It really
yourself,
does.
obviously, they view that. So it is crucial. So that's definitely where knowledge of the area comes in. But what's next after that, Perrie?
So we're looking at the valuation and also the sales strategy. So credible agents will absolutely always give you clear evidence of how they've got that number. They can not justify their valuation, but they can demonstrate to you, this is where my numbers come from. And I explain that every time I'm going out. This is how today's going to go for us in regards to how I've prepared. And I talk about my square meterage, I talk about the finish of the properties, I talk about the plot size, I talk about the high ticket items, the bedrooms, sorry, the bathrooms, the kitchens. Are they done? Are they not done? Do they need improving? And basically then give them a good idea of exactly where that's coming from. Maybe sharing too many secrets there, actually, Sophie. But anyway, we definitely do. I know. So we do deep delve into it, and I think that's you really need to get that firm evidence from them, and make sure that they can articulate to you as well a clear plan. So you should be looking for answers like, how did you arrive at your valuation? What comparable sales support did you look at? So again, they should be presenting to you detailed handouts and pictures of current listed properties with your agent, with the actual agent that's sitting in front of you. They need to demonstrate that they've had some and they've sold them. And they also need to demonstrate others. So again, you want to be getting a complete market picture. So, you know, as a cumulative picture, what did these properties look like? What did they sell for? How long did it take them to sell? And can they demonstrate that to you, and what the market conditions for that particular property are like? So that's really important. And I think as well, it's about then understanding then on top of that, are there any unique features with your particular property that makes you stand out more, that actually maybe warrants a different number? But again, it's how do they demonstrate that? So that's really important, because all of those things will influence that final figure that the agent will come up with. But actually it will also give you as a potential seller a real clear understanding of their preparedness and their knowledge, and that you've got confidence really that they'll have your back and they understand what they've committed to with you in regards to that valuation. So that's really important. Again, also, what's your initial marketing strategy and how will you adapt it if it doesn't work? So, you know, everyone with the best will in the world always wants to go in with a positive head, but you will always get, well, what if it doesn't sell? Or you get the opposite of, it'll sell itself anyway, so I don't need all that. But it's about you understanding really what is available to you and how the agent's going to make that work. So you're looking for outlined initial steps. What does that look like, and how are they going to interact with you? Can they target buyers, and can they show you where the buyers are likely to come from? So are they aware of that, and do they have buyers potentially that are selling and that are buying in that location because you've already sold and maybe they missed out? What are the key selling points that the agent sees in your home as well? So in my view, when you're taking people to view a property once they've listed it, you want to get that 80% place in the house. So is that the converted kitchen? Is that the sea view? Is that the countryside view? That's the starting point. So again, it's about picking out the key features, and has the agent actually even recognized that key feature? And also for me, it's about how much energy they have. So, you know, how much passion and energy do you feel that you're getting from them as you're taking them around the house? Or do you feel they're just looking at a clipboard and they're ticking a box? Or are they engaging with you? Are they looking at the house? Are they really interacting? I think that's a real big plan as well, in regards to how you would move forward with that particular person. Because as well as the agent offering you all of the information, you've got to have a relationship with the individual too. So you want to kind of get that feeling for them as well. But they should also explain to you, if things don't necessarily go the way that they are hoped to have gone, what's the plan B? Do they have a plan B? Do they know what they're going to do next if it doesn't go the way it wants? Especially if you have already bought and you're on a tight timeline. The pressure's not there if you haven't already bought. And we always advise, get yourself ready before you buy, because you're putting yourself under so much pressure otherwise. But if you have just done that because your dream home came along and then suddenly you've rushed to put yours on, if it's not selling as quickly as you think, what would be the plan B? How do we get it to move? Because I don't want to lose this new house. So again, it's about understanding that as well. And how are they going to create that interest and efficiencies and get people through your door that are serious buyers? That's a real big plus. But also as well, once you kind of have that success and offers are coming in, how do they handle those offers? How do they make sure that you're going to accept the right one? What is best for you? So a good agent will explain their negotiation tactics with you. They'll talk about how they'll present their offers to you. They'll talk about how they've verified the chain. So if there's more than one property involved, that can be spoken of. But also what your financial status is of your buyer. So does your agent know that, or are they just putting people through their door? Certainly with ourselves, we know who's coming to see your house. We know what their position is, i.e. whether they've got to sell their cash or not. If they need a mortgage, is that already in place? When they say they're cash, well, is it really cash, or is it their cash when they've sold? So it's really about understanding all of those things and analysing that before the person even comes to view the house. So again, what is the agent doing to give you that confidence? And are they gathering that information, or are they just letting a truckload of people come through your house that maybe aren't even in a position to offer on it? Because that does two things. For the agent, it makes them look efficient because they've got lots of people coming through your door. But actually on the other side of the coin, it isn't, because if 50% of those people are not in a position to offer at that time, then actually you've got excited as the seller. You're thinking this could be the one. You've maybe run around. You've obviously followed the decluttering that we've given you the ideas on, and then you've maybe just, right, this is my 10 seconds of getting ready. You've boxed everything up and you're shoving it under. So you're keeping your home looking nice, aren't you? And suddenly you've got people that are coming that can't even offer on the house. So that can be really despondent and disappointing for you as a seller as well. So making sure your agent really is on top of that is crucial for your success to get sold. It makes the sales strategy work better for you. It's absolutely vital. And if I were a seller in today's market, I wouldn't be accepting less than that from an agent, because I'd want to know that they have got me and looking after me and get me to where I need to be. And that's really crucial.
Absolutely.
After that, then what we're looking at is, we're talking about buyers. So it's that marketing reach and that buyer outreach. Where are they coming from? So Sophie, what does that look like?
Exactly, because it isn't just, as we say, kind of crossing your fingers, sticking it on Rightmove and hoping for the best. That's just doesn't work in the property market that we're in just now, when there's so much more competition. What are we doing differently to get your property seen? Because we need to be actively marketing it across all the channels to ensure it does get that reach as wide as possible, to then bring you a bigger buyer pool to then allow us to start those negotiations. And that's ultimately what we need. So yes, we have 5 properties, but we obviously advertise out with that, and even with ourselves, with our own website, the reach that we get, and we do get asked that. But that's something that you need to be asking. So your first question is, what specific marketing channels and platforms are used to showcase my property? So it isn't just being on your Rightmove, your Zoopla, your S1 Homes. It's our own website. It's being on that social media. It's being on YouTube. What other agent can say they're on YouTube? It's all those other tactics. We've got our social media and our pre-portal videos. It's every single channel to attract as many buyers that are out there, because we are a multimedia agency, and that's what you need in this day and age. But also, yes, okay, the agent might say, yeah, we're going to have you on Rightmove, we're going to have you on Zoopla, on our own websites, but actually what activity and what reach do they get from that? So for our website, for example, when you look at our statistics for last year alone, there was 89,000 active users from London alone. What other agent would be able to tell you that fact? There was over 50,000 from Edinburgh just last year coming to our own direct website. Can your agent give you those numbers? Do they actually know what actually happens behind the scenes? Because that's buyers out there. So do they have that information for you? because then again, that just shows you the reach and that it is out with Fife. Will my property have professional photography, or is it somebody standing kind of with the phone where you can see the shadows, you can see it's a bit blurry, it's a bit squint, but actually is there professional photography? Again, because that gets seen, especially if you're putting it on social media, the higher quality, the more it gets pushed out there. So is there high quality photography? Is there floor plans as well? Sometimes we'll see listings where there's absolutely no floor plans, and when there's a couple of photos and there's also not a video walkthrough, trying to figure out the layout and reference the flow of the property. And also, is it a property where they perhaps want to do some work, but they can't work out with a floor plan what wall they could perhaps knock down, nor could they extend. It's all about us making it as easy as possible, and it is that marketing piece is absolutely crucial. And then as well, you've kind of touched on your viewings, obviously, Perrie, but how will you actively generate viewings and qualify potential buyers? It's not about just kind of sitting and almost being an order taker and waiting for people to come to you. What are you doing to go to the buyers? So is your agent emailing out marketing as soon as the property goes live? Have they got a database of people? And can they tell you how many people, once your property went live, how many people it actually matches with, and that they're emailing that marketing out? Because they may be not checking Rightmove every day or got their alerts set or S1 Homes, but actually that marketing is getting fired at them. They see it and they've got everything there in their hands. But then actually, is your agent then following up on that? So yes, somebody's requested a home report through Rightmove or Zoopla. Is your agent then following up on that and getting a viewer and getting them through the door? Are they perhaps got any questions that the viewer potentially has, and they're handling that? So are they just sitting back and waiting, or are they actively going out to buyers? Are they pushing it back out on social media perhaps? What are they doing differently? We obviously do coming soon videos, we do watch out videos, we do our market update where we give even a preview of the preview, almost like we tell you before we've even done the pre-portal that it's coming. What is your agent doing differently than, again, just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best? But it's being proactive. And then with that comes those high quality viewings that have been qualified, that we all know are active, ready to go, that then allows the agent to start negotiating offers. And then that is a crucial thing, because obviously, as Perrie said, you are selling for a reason. So that is what we want, the offers, but you're only going to get offers if your reach is out there and the marketing is truly showcasing the property to its highest potential. So with it needs to be comprehensive and dynamic and ensure it does stand out against all the other, because we're seeing it, more and more properties are coming to market. It's the season for it. So what are we doing differently? And if it doesn't feel exciting to you, then it's probably not going to feel exciting to people out there. So again, what is your agent doing to make sure it does stand out? Because you've got a very small amount of time to capture somebody. So how are you doing that? But absolutely, marketing and the reach is absolutely crucial. But then, Perrie, so we've got your viewers, we've got your offers, or we've had viewers, you've touched on communication, but what kind of questions should you be asking around communication?
I mean, the communication and feedback is crucial. It's the bedrock of a successful agent, to be honest with you, because actually regular open communication is keeping you as the seller informed. It's keeping you confident about that agent as well, because you feel they're doing something and it hasn't just gone radio silent. But don't be afraid to ask some questions. And the things I'd be asking are, how often will I be updated? What progress are you making and how are you going to communicate that to me? So whether it's a weekly call or it's a fortnightly email or an online customer portal that you're using, or, it's really clear to get it up front. All the mediums that you can use now as well. You've got WhatsApp as well as a really great tool. You can create groups with your sellers. So it's about how you communicate and how frequently you're sharing that information. And that's important for you as a seller to understand. Because actually what will happen then is a proactive agent knows that they're going to be speaking to you once a week. So they want to come and tell you something positive. So they're going to be working hard all that week to come and give you a positive story at that catch-up point. So that's really crucial. But also, what is the process and how are they going to provide that feedback? So not just how frequently they're going to do it, but how are they going to do it? So simply hearing for somebody, well, I think they liked it, or yeah, it was a positive viewing, or they're going to think about it. That's not really telling me anything if I'm the seller. So, you know, what does it look like? What is the true feedback? And actually, don't always sugarcoat it either, because it's good to be honest. So again, if it hasn't gone well, or you're getting a pattern of feedback, so there might be one particular area of a property that's constantly being said, actually, this doesn't work for me. And if it's the same thing, it doesn't work. So how do we work together? How do we change that? How do we mix that up a little bit to make it work for the next person that comes through the house? So it's really important to give constructive, but it's also important to give it as positive as you can be. I don't like to use the word negative, but you know, if there is a not so positive aspect, that needs to be talked about as well, because actually we're just going to repeat the issue with the next viewer if we see a pattern build. So it's about how do we eliminate that? And I guess that's where your plan B comes into play, isn't it, that we spoke about earlier on? So what do we change? You know, is it a case that actually, you know, maybe that's the only room it wasn't decorated, and a quick lick of paint one weekend would make the difference, and then you just take a fresh photo of it? Or is it that the layout doesn't work, or there's too much furniture in it? We had one property that we were selling that when you went into it, the back of the sofa was in front of you, and then the other sofa was opposite that sofa. So when you came in, it was like two big barriers looking down the room. And that was the feedback we got, was that that room was too small. So we said to the client, actually, how would you feel if we just mixed up the furniture a little bit? So rather than them having the back, we moved it side by side rather than front to back. And when it went side by side, the room just opened up, and they could see to the window, and they could see to the patio, and suddenly it was a completely different room. So little things like that make a difference. And moving two sofas was nothing to do, you know. So there's little elements that you can really do that kind of mix things up a little bit. But also, as a seller, you want to know, well, who's my primary contact person? Who am I going to be dealing with if I've got any questions? How often will they be available? How will I speak with them? How do I avoid maybe my frustrations? You know, so how are you going to work with me so that I don't start getting agitated? I want to have that clarity from you, because I'm anxious. I'm the seller. I want my sale. I want to secure that number. I've already bought my next place. So there's a heightened anxiety there for them as well, isn't it? So it's about making sure that you understand how you're going to get communicated to and who with. And also to have timeframes of when, you know, you want to have really in-depth discussions, and the agent should be presenting to you, okay, we didn't get offers this week, but this is what we're going to do next week to make that look different. So it's about having that robust discussion as well. So I think that that's really important. So the who, the where, and the kind of how and when is really important for you as a seller, for sure. But a great agent should make you feel supported all the time, and that you should feel that they're in control, which actually ultimately makes you feel a little bit more in control. And you should feel that you're in a safe pair of hands as well, and that they're looking after you. And clear communication and genuine interest in your property and your journey and what you're trying to achieve, that will really give you a strong indicator as to whether that person and that team are going to really work for you. And that's crucial in my view, because actually they may meet Sophie, they may meet Perrie, but actually there's a whole team support us as well. So what does that team look like, and how are they going to work with me? Because we can't be available 24/7 technically, because I could be sitting in another evaluation appointment, but my other person who I've just listed with, they want to have someone that they can speak to if they need to speak to them there and then. So it's that support network that's behind us as well, and how frequently they support and interact, really important.
Absolutely, definitely.
And then it all comes down to the big key thing, your contract and what's it going to cost. So Sophie, what does that look like?
$1 billion question. Yes. And it's so all of that then ties into understanding the financial and contractual aspects of the agreement. This is your biggest asset in life. So yes, you want to pick the best agent, absolutely. What does that investment look like? What can I expect my costs to be? And also, can your agent tell you that, or is it a bit of a grey area and it's a bit kind of wishy-washy, which then again doesn't give you that confidence? You know, is it perhaps an agent that, yeah, this is the fee, but actually if you want, you want that, it's an extra 150, or you want that, it's an extra 200, or it's an extra £25 per viewing. Well, I don't know how many viewings you're going to do, so how do I know what my bill's going to be at the end if they're just going to keep getting added on? Where does it end? So actually you need to understand the full fee structure and what actually is included with that, and get it in black and white as well. and you should be signing an agreement. I had this quite recently where a client has actually moved over to ourselves. For whatever reason, the service wasn't great. They hadn't had the results they were looking for, so they moved over to ourselves. No agreement was signed with the other agent. They had no agreement. They didn't know what withdrawal costs. They didn't know fees. And the agent, granted, obviously, because they realised they hadn't done that contractual part, let them just walk away with no withdrawal fees, no notice period. So then when I came and said, okay, this is my fees, this is the agreement, this is how I'm going to get your property sold, it was a bit like, oh, I never had to do this with the last agent. And I'm like, well, that's not a great starting point before we've even started, that you didn't even sign anything. This is your biggest asset. So you need to have all that in black and white. And as well, I always like to do with my clients is let them read over it without that kind of pressure, so they can read the small print and read the terms and conditions, and they can ask me questions. But what actually is included in the fee, and is there any additional charges? Is it perhaps a percentage? Is it perhaps a fixed fee? Is there extra costs, for example? And how long is the contract? I get asked that as well. Or, is there extra fees if it's not sold within the first 3 months? Or, is there a contract term or anything like that? Again, that should be in the agreement, but also your agent should be able to answer that face to face or over the phone. They should be able to give you all that information, so that you can understand notice periods, withdrawal fees as well. Is there any? What does that look like? When are they expected to be paid? Some agency agreements tie you in for 6 months, perhaps, but whatever the length of time is, ask what that process looks like. You've touched on, obviously, do they have a plan B? But also you need to have the full picture of if for whatever reason it doesn't go successful, or even perhaps as well, it doesn't mean to say you're withdrawing because it's not been a positive experience. You could be withdrawing because circumstances have changed. Perhaps the property you were going for, you're not interested in anymore. And actually you've decided, all these people coming in giving me such positive feedback about my property. I love it. I don't want to move. But actually, what work has been done? So actually now I need to actually withdraw. So it doesn't mean you're withdrawing for perhaps a negative. It could be a positive as well. There's all different circumstances. But ultimately, what does that process look like? You need to have it in black and white and understand it. And how do you know, as a seller or a potential seller, that that agent is acting in your best interest right from the minute that you sign on that dotted line until the minute that keys are handed over and everything is exchanged? So ask all of these questions, get the response, look for answers that highlight a kind of obvious commitment to providing advice that prioritizes your move over their perhaps commission or the board just up on the street. They want to look good. And that is something that we do. And you've touched on like property journey, but when we go into an appointment, we love to understand, why are we here? What do we need to help with? What is happening in life that we need to help with? And that is ultimately, that helps, that motivates us. That's what keeps us going, to understand what we're doing to help. Or are they literally just through the door? Yeah, yeah, that's your value. Sign, right, crack on. Like, that's not, it's how are you making it personable and connecting and building that trusting relationship? Yeah. And it's being completely clear on every little detail. And you might think these kind of questions, some people aren't quite comfortable asking questions around fees and, finances. If you perhaps don't want to ask at the appointment and face-to-face isn't your preferred with kind of questions like this, put them in an email or put them in a message or do something, but please make sure you do ask if that is something that is, important to you. And your agent should be able to answer you, and then discuss, a mutually beneficial agreement. But you want to feel like your estate agent is being transparent with you.
Absolutely. And I think if you feel that it's all very vague and you're still not very clear about it, 2 things you can do here. You dig deeper until you are clear, or you maybe you look elsewhere, really, because actually it's not working.
Correct. What is it they say? If you feel any red flags, if there's any red flags waving, then
maybe it's time to back out of that scenario. Absolutely. And it's having the confidence to do that. And that's where you should be building that rapport with that agent the minute that you meet them. And that rapport gets built because you start to gain confidence in them, because they're displaying themselves properly and they're sharing that knowledge and understanding with you, which gives you confidence in them, doesn't it?
Yep, absolutely. Yes.
So lots of big questions in there to be covering. I think it's really important for a seller to think of those things. And actually, you're maybe sitting at the moment thinking you're going to sell and you hadn't contemplated some of those. So lots of detail to take in there. As I say, you can read the article yourself. You can also reach out and ask us questions. And actually, if you're in a position at the moment where you're feeling some of these pain points, share them. We'd be happy to help and give you some ideas of how you can maybe overcome them, even if it's not with us. But I think that's really important to do. But my top tip is definitely ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid to do that. It's your biggest asset. Challenge us. That's what we're there for. We need to demonstrate to you that we want to work with you and we've got the knowledge to get you where you need to be on your journey, and that actually we're doing that together. It's a partnership.
Correct. Absolutely. Interview your agent, because as well, I feel like if you interview your agent and ask them questions and put them on the spot, that gives you an indication of how they're going to interact and deal with questions and objections, perhaps from viewers that are coming through your door. How do they handle that? Do they just brush it off, or can they actually hold their own and answer the question? Because that's a little indication of how they're going to be doing your viewings as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a really good way to end this one then today, Sophie. Thanks very much, everyone. And as I say, if you've got any questions, any feedback, any pointers that we maybe didn't cover that you have experienced, reach out. We're always happy to help, because it helps everyone else then if they see it. And that knowledge share is always a positive thing. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.